In this lesson, we'll be starting learning about the modern Indian history. But to first understand that how did the decline of Mughal Empire happen after the end of the medieval Indian history. So come, let's explore this through a set of storylines to make it easier and convenient to understand.
Is a second history video lecture. If you haven't watched the first lecture, you can watch it by following the link given in the description box. So in this, we are going to move ahead and discuss the briefs and important events which paved way for the modern Indian history. Okay, so as we have already talked about that how did the introduction of modern Indian history began in the previous lesson, so we are going to just move ahead with it. Okay, so basically we'll be covering about 6 storylines together, and you can see we'll be talking about them together, starting from the storyline first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And this session, that is the coming of Nadir Shah, we'll be discussing this in the next video lecture. Okay, so right now our full concentration is on the initial 6 storylines or the events. I have actually noted down all the crisp points of all those events, so we don't have to get back into those events in detail. They are just for the reference so that it makes it easier for us to understand that how did modern Indian history came into being. Okay, so it says that the story begins. Okay, so first of all, you must remember this, that the modern Indian history first started off after the decline of Mughal Empire happened, and the decline of Mughal Empire is said to happen in the last stage of the medieval Indian history. Okay, it already it already began in the end section of the medieval Indian history, and that's where the decline of the Mughal Empire started. Okay, now if when we are saying that the decline of the Mughal Empire started, which means that it must have had a long series of events which led to this. What were those? So the story began with the declination and disintegration of the Mughal Empire in the first half of the 18th century. Okay, and in 1803, Delhi was occupied by the British Army, and so the position of the Mughal emperors was reduced to the status of mere pensioner of a foreign power. So this is first where the degradation happened. Okay, and other than that, the downfall of the Mughal Empire happened because of the defects and weaknesses of the India's medieval social, economical, and political structure, which were in the hands of the Mughal rulers who were ruling then. Okay, and these events were responsible for the eventual subjugation, or you can say defeat, of the Mughal Empire before the East India Company, and later on the East India Company gained power over the British rule, and after which the British Raj or the British rule happened to have a 2 decade of ruling over entire India. Okay, now this decline of Mughal Empire that happened actually was when Aurangzeb, during his reign, or you can say during his ruling years, he followed very harmful policies of administration army. Okay, and there were a very certain sections where he was very much rigid, and as a result of which there was a great disintegration within the administration. Okay, now apart from that, as Aurangzeb died, it was followed by an event where his 3 sons fought together, and out of those 3, Bahadur Shah came victorious. In the second storyline, when we move in, we're going to talk completely about Bahadur Shah, because Bahadur Shah is said to have certain administrative policy changes. He introduced some new things, and he made some changes as well to his father's previous policy. So what were those? So first of all, Bahadur Shah followed a policy of compromise and conciliation, and this conciliation is said to be a very important factor, because if you have to stay in power, you have to be friendly with the situation as in the people. And during those times, apart from the Mughals, the other powerful armies were that of Rajputs, Sikhs, and your Marathas. But actually, Mughals were more powerful. However, it was important that the rulers
stay in power but also conciliate with their other rivalries, so-called rivalries. And this was done by whom? Bahadur Shah. Okay, so he then followed the policy of compromise and conciliation, and it said that there was an evidence of the reversal of some of the narrow-minded policies and measures adopted by his father. So as I said, the reign of administration during Aurangzeb was not desirable, and Bahadur Shah somewhat tried to change the narrow-minded policies, okay, because he might have realized that to stay in power you need more power, and that can be gained when you're conciliating with your subjugatory armies. Okay, next is said that he was very tolerant about the Hindu chiefs because he was ready to conciliate, so he had to be very tolerant towards the Hindu chiefs and the rajas. Okay, secondly, uh, after this conciliation, one major drawback which can be said for Bahadur Shah was that he destructed a lot of temples during his reign. Okay, and as he was ready to conciliate it, the basic policy behind the conciliation was that he wanted to gain control over them. Okay, so basically this was a kind of showing or a pact that, you know, I'm going to be friendly with you, but indirectly the policies were to make him more powerful. Okay, so what he did was he attempted to gain control over the Rajput states of Amber and Marwar, sorry, and these are in Jodhpur. Okay, so this didn't prove effective for him. And next, his half-hearted conciliation. So basically, conciliation was mainly because of gaining more control and more power. This conciliation was not truly friendly. Okay, this was not like to get friendly nature with these subjugatory armies. It was just to have more of power over the entire India through them. Okay, so in while conciliation with the Marathas, the Hindu chiefs, the Rajas, his attempt was also to conciliate with the rebellious Sikhs. Now Sikhs are said to be really rebellious, and so their the attempt of Bahadur Shah to conciliate with them was only way possible when he could conciliate with their leader or their guru, who was Guru Gobind Singh. Okay, so what he did was he gave him the highest rank, which is also said to be Mansab. Okay, and now during the reign of the Bahadur Shah, there was a great deterioration because his policies, the way he thought that, you know, conciliation can bring him more power, actually didn't prove effective for him, and that way it led to deterioration of the administration during his time. Also, the position of state finances worsened, okay, because of the result of reckless grants of jagirs and promotions. So if you understand what Bahadur Shah did was, he realized that his father Aurangzeb followed very narrow-minded policies, and now in order to have more subtle and settled power over India, he thought, let's conciliate with the other alliances or the armies around. Okay, because in the Deccan and in the other states there were rulers like your Marathas, your rebellious Sikhs, and your Rajas in the Jodhpur area, Rajasthan area. So basically, Mughal army was powerful but was not spread all across. Okay, so he decided to conciliate, and this process of conciliation was in a way to, you know, lure the chiefs so that they fall in his prey, and then he can be their leader. But eventually, in this whole system of alluring them, what he did was he actually emptied his own finance. He emptied the entire, you can say, the finances which he had for administration purposes. It all went into giving away the jagirs and the promotions to the other people. Okay, so this was one thing. So you can remember that Bahadur Shah, he changed few policies of Aurangzeb. Secondly, his idea of conciliation with the chiefs and the Rajas and the rebellious Sikhs. But third point is his failure to this. So you have to remember that how one Mughal emperor initiated something and how that gave him a downfall. Okay, now this is where every Mughal ruler who is coming into position one after the other has some or the other story, has some or the other administrative policy, and we'll have to understand and see that Are they being effective or are they making them fool? Okay, now if we move on to this third storyline, we'll talk about the session where the nobles entered the Mughal politics. Okay, how did that happen? Because with the death of Bahadur Shah, now already Bahadur Shah was said to be a defeated ruler because of his deterioration. So now what happened was the nobles are said to be a kind of your uh, well-wishers. Okay, that time it was well-wishers who worked for the kings, and they were said to be kingmakers sort of thing also. So nobles came into action, and their coming into politics proved very crucial, because many of the nobles who were really efficient enough to handle an administration, they knew that if we have to get in power, we have to first get into the good list of the kings, because if they are into the good list of the kings, then kings can support them and they can prefer the nobles. Okay, so this was done by whom? This was done by Zulfikar Khan. How? So basically, if you talk about Jahandar Shah, who was the next to come into the who ascended the throne after Bahadur Shah, so he came into power with the support of one of the most powerful noble of that time. He was Zulfikar Khan. I'm sorry. So Jahandar Shah came into power with the help of Zulfikar Khan, and Jahandar Shah's administration was indirectly into the hands of Zulfikar Khan, because as I said, he was more efficient than the king. Okay, so now what happened, that under the administration of Zulfikar Khan, uh, please mind this, I'm telling that under the administration of Zulfikar Khan, because Jahandar Shah was just the king. The real ruling happened, or the real administrative functions was happening by or under the headmanship of Zulfikar Khan. Okay, so if we are talking about the administration system during Jahandar Shah, but under the Zulfikar Khan, what are the key features? The first was he established friendly relations with the Rajputs, Rajas, and the Maratha Sardars. Okay, so you can see that the status of conciliation is happening again. Now let's see if Zulfikar Khan's conciliation was effective and it turned positive for him or not. Okay, she also conciliated the Hindu chieftains, but the old policy of suppression against the Bandas and Sikhs continued. So remember, Bahadur Shah was conciliating with Sikhs, but Zulfikar Khan was against them. Okay, and so in order to strengthen his own position in the court and save the empire, he did all of this conciliation. Okay, and he was actually the Wazir of the Jahandar Shah's court. Okay, Wazir is said to be a nice wise man. Okay, and next what happened was he reversed the policies of Aurangzeb and abolished jizya. So basically, what your role is, go and search what is jizya and comment down below. And other than that, so basically you're seeing that Aurangzeb's policies were really destructive according to these people who are coming into power right now. You can see Bahadur Shah also reversed the policies. He attempted to clear off the narrow-minded policies. Now Zulfikar Khan is trying to reverse the policies of Aurangzeb, which was jizya. So search what was it and why is it so. Okay, this question mark is for you. Now next was what was done by Zulfikar Khan was he attempted to improve the finances of the empire, because Bahadur Shah's reign has already reduced or deteriorated the finances of the entire kingdom. So what he did was he attempted to improve the finances of the empire by checking the reckless growths of the Jagirs and the office. That means unnecessarily, if you're having a lot of people around working in the namesake of working, then definitely you have to give them salaries. So basically, the first reason for deterioration of the finances during the Bahadur Shah was the unnecessary promotions and new attempts of employment. So he reduced that. Zulfikar Khan attempted to reduce that, and this way he thought that the finance can be made stable. Okay, apart from that, he introduced an evil system. Now apart from all those goody things that he did, there was something against a set of people. What was that? He introduced an evil system for the revenue farming. Okay, and it was called Ijra. So what happened under this was the revenue farmers and the middlemen were actually given the freedom, literally freedom, to collect anything from the petty peasants, and the contract only said that it's up to you whatever you collect from the peasants, but we want certain amount of money to be getting, to reach us. We just want some amount to reach. That was under the contract what amount was supposed to reach, but other than that, even if you want to charge excess on the peasants, it's up to you. So this was a kind of evil system that was introduced by Zulfikar Khan. So basically it was all for rebuilding up the financial status of the kingdom. Okay, but this is said to be a very difficult policy. So this land revenue settlement system came during the reign of Jahandar Shah, but under the Zulfikar Khan. Okay, so, and as a result of which definitely peasant oppression started and began in great number. So now the next comes is the Jahandar Shah's defeat, and it was done by his nephew Farrukh Siyar. Now Farrukh Siyar is said to be a king who was not into the throne all by himself. He was actually put into the throne with the help of the Sayyid brothers, and these Sayyid brothers are very important in history. They are said to be the king makers. Okay, and these Sayyid brothers were given the position of Wazir and Mir Bakhshi in the court of Farrukh Siyar. Okay, so basically the success of Farrukh Siyar happened only because of the Sayyid brothers. But again, as I said, nobles during this time were mainly focusing on getting into the political power or the Mughal politics. So as Zulfikar Khan did, similarly Sayyid brothers also had the same approach. But in comparison to Zulfikar Khan, the contribution of Sayyid brothers is said to be really effective. So take this as a very important section. So we are going to discuss this very appropriately. Okay. Now what happened was the Sayyid brothers, they were gaining dominant control of the affairs of the state because they were now Mir Bakhshi and the Wazir, basically people who handle money, right? So what happened was, as this happened and as Sayyid brothers started expanding their power, this reached to Farrukh Siyar, and he heard that there's so much of power game happening by the Sayyid brothers. So this led to a prolonged struggle for power between the emperor and the Sayyid brothers now. So remember, Sayyid brothers made Farrukh Siyar the emperor, but they were gaining more control over the people in his kingdom. And this later gave a kind of war situation between them. Okay, but however, who won? The Sayyid brothers won. And Sayyid brothers then again, for the indirect ruling, they made Muhammad Shah as the emperor of India. And Farrukh Siyar definitely went out of the game. Okay. Now, let's talk about Sayyid brothers' initiatives, or what did they do for administrative power. Okay, now first is they adopted the policy of religious tolerance. What was done into this is, they believed in associating Hindu chiefs and the nobles with the Muslim nobles in governing the country. This is an effective one. Secondly, their idea was to conciliate with the Rajputs, Marathas and Jats in their struggle. Now remember, these three people didn't came into any of the administrative section of Bahadur Shah or Jahandar Shah. Okay, now it's only coming in this reign of Sayyid brothers. They conciliated with Rajputs, Marathas and Jats. So now these three are coming into the section. Okay, so they also, now with conciliation, the Sayyid brothers' first ideology to conciliate was so that they can be more powerful and they can war against Farrukh Siyar. Okay, and now jizya was again abolished. So basically Aurangzeb's prominent policy was what? Jizya, and that was abolished by two people. One was Zulfikar Khan, the second was the Sayyid brothers. So please go and search and keep a note of what is jizya and what and all, and type it down in the comments. And the fourth important event was abolition of the pilgrimage tax. Okay, pilgrimage tax was removed or abolished from number of places. Okay, apart from that, now when we're talking about giving power, Sayyid brothers gave a lot of power to a lot of people. Okay, Basically, previously, as you know, conciliations was also done in order to gain power over people, gain power over all the rulers. So earlier, one of the Maratha king, or you can say Shahu Maharaj, previously under the reigns, during the previous reigns, he was not given the power, or he was not given the position that he was desirable for. But this position was given by the two brothers, the Sayyid brothers. They gave Swaraj to Shahu Maharaj, and also this might have been their policy to conciliate with Shahu Maharaj, because in return Shahu Maharaj gave them or agreed to support him in the Deccan part, okay, with 15,000 mounted soldiers. That means in the mountains. So this gave a lot of security to the Sayyid brothers. Okay. Now what happened next was he attempted for vigorous efforts to contain the rebellions and save the empire from administrative disintegration. But this is said to be a failure due to facing off constant political rivalry, quarrels, and conspiracies at the court. Why did this happen? Because the Sayyid brothers were conciliating to, reduce the chances of the disintegration. Because earlier, during the earlier reigns, the disintegration actually had led off the kingdom towards downfall. But Sayyid brothers somewhat tried to pull it up. They were trying their hard. They were trying the best, but it was more of understood as a political power rivalry, because of which they were more of anti-Sayyid brothers. I mean, they were more of, you can say, people who didn't like their system. It was not because they were not liking that Sayyid brothers' approach was wrong, but because they knew that if they will be in power, they will rule us. And this involved, and in this entire section of enemies, who was also involved? Farrukhsiyar. Okay, so there were a set of quarrels, a set of rivalries who were involved into this. Now with this, when there was so much of deterioration, then definitely something such happened which was not desirable by the Sayyid brothers. There was again a deterioration in the financial position of the state. Why? Because of refusal of payment of the land revenue by the zamindars and the rebellious elements. Now the land revenue settlement already was introduced by Zulfikar Khan. That was being that sustained. The Sayyid brothers didn't abolish that, so it was not happening in proper condition. So they were not getting money. Secondly, there was misappropriation of the state revenues by the officials. And third was there was a decline in the central income due to spread of revenue farming. So you can see, as an after effect of the previous policies of the previous kingdom rulers, previous Mughal rulers, the after effects actually created difficulty for the next coming rulers or the next coming reigns of Mughal Empire. Okay, so you can see the policies of Zulfikar Khan were causing an after effect in the reign of Farrukhsiyar, or say the Sayyid brothers, but indirectly it was creating a loss to entire Mughal Empire. Okay, now what happened was there was also conspiracy by Nizamul Mulk and his father against Sayyid brothers. So Sayyid brothers indirectly had gathered a lot of enemies against them, and as a result of which Sayyid brothers could not sustain for longer and could not stay in power, and out of the two brothers, one of them were killed. Okay, so this gave an end of the domination of the Mughal Empire. Okay, so Sayyid brothers' reign is said to be one of the most strongest part, but since due to rivalry and politics they were brought down, this gave an end to the domination of the Mughal Empire. By the word domination, you mean power. So domination came to an end. Now there was no domination, because if the Sayyid brothers could have resisted, again, I mean, they could have stayed on their own policies and system of administration, there could have been more changes, and the Mughal Empire could have rose to a much higher dominative status. Okay, but this didn't happen. Now let's move to the storyline 5th. This is our second last storyline, and after Muhammad Shah, who was made by the Sayyid brothers. So in the reign of Muhammad Shah also,
many things happened, but the biggest part is that he ruled for 30 years, the maximum time than any other Mughal emperor. Okay, so during his administration, now obviously Sayyid brothers, they are gone. Now under Muhammad Shah, there was no administration scene. He neglected all sort of things and he involved himself into bribery. He asked his officials to bribe and then share a part of it with him. This is disgusting, but yes, this happened. Okay, and as a result of which, during that time, Nizamul Mulk thought that might be so that Muhammad Shah calls him to support his kingdom or help him in ruling the administration, but that didn't happen. And so Nizamul Mulk felt very kind of cheated, or you can say ignorant. So the then Wazir of the empire of Muhammad Shah, Nizamul Mulk, he moved ahead and he formed his own independent state. The state of, it was Hyderabad. He formed Hyderabad. Okay. So the Hyderabad in the Deccan was formed under the Nizamul Mulk. This is also important. Now coming to the last storyline, this gives us that how the entire Mughal sections were onto a downfall. Finally, what happened was there was a complete physical breakup of the Mughal Empire. And like Nizamul Mulk formed Hyderabad, similarly, many semi-independent states were formed by the powerful and ambitious nobles. And of course, there was a lot of arousal of the hereditary Nawabs who owned to the nominal allegiance to the Emperor of Delhi. Okay, and the locations for these were Bengal, Hyderabad, Awadh, and Punjab. Please do mark the map points for these. And of course, there was a lot of rebellion from the petty zamindars, rajas, and nawabs because of a lot of policies. We are not supposed to dwell deeper into this. We just want a basic storyline to help us understand that how did it started and how did it came to an end of the Mughal Empire. So this is how we can see the entire storyline happened. So with this we come to an end to this entire section. In the next video section, we will be covering the coming of Nadir Shah. Okay, so till date, you have to understand that all the Mughal Empire, how eventually and gradually came to a downfall. I hope this learning will be important and exclusively effective for you. To catch on with the next video lessons, click down the subscribe button and also check out the other videos. Thank you.